It's Pro Wrestling. Some of you already know what it is. Chris Dozer's in the house. Chris Dozer, how the hell you doing, man?
I'm living every day to day.
I like it, buddy.
How are you?
I'm living the dream, buddy. If I was any better, I'd need to be twins just to handle it. But
yeah, I don't think I do about twins. Don't wish that one.
Well, this has probably been a long time coming. I'm glad that we were able to connect and be able to do this. I'm glad to have you on board. It's gonna be fucking sweet. We're gonna be doing top 10 lists. We're gonna be doing reviews. We're gonna be talking about current talent. We got a whole litany of things that we're getting into here. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I'm glad that we were able to do this Wrestling Mondays thing, even though we record on Fridays. It's still
it is what it is, brother. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you're calling in. It sounds like very Jim Cornette, which is always good. I really appreciate that.
Anytime I can be mentioned in the same vein as Jim Cornette, I'm happy.
I like it, buddy. I like it. Well, let's start off with our first episode here. We're gonna do the top 10 singles of all time, which
we're starting off hot.
Yeah, we're starting off hot. I mean, now this list that we've put together, we have not even talked about who's on each of our lists. But I'd like to do small discussion on everybody, and this is like a personal list. This is not who I think is the biggest draws of all time, because that list is pretty much evident. You have Hogan, Flair, HBK, all those people, which is fine. Those guys are all
Taker.
Big draws. Yeah, Taker, exactly right. This is like a personal list for me of all the top 10 guys that I think have ever been in the business and who I like to watch the most as far as singles wrestlers go. But I'll let you start, buddy. Who's at your number 10 spot?
Number 10 spot. It's going to be a shocker for some, but it's going to be Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky Steamboat. Ooh, I do like Ricky Steamboat at the number 10 spot. That's very interesting. Why Steamer at 10?
Well, because he's had two of my favorite wrestling matches I've ever seen, ever watched. I had the pleasure of watching. That was the Chi-Town Rumble in '86, I believe, with Ric Flair.
Yep, great match.
And the showdown with Savage, I believe it was supposed to maybe 5 or 6?
3. WrestleMania 3. Yeah,
don't mind me.
Yeah, when they did the bell spot on the throat.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Yep. Fantastic. It was a fantastic match. A lot of people really rate that match very high in terms of the WrestleMania lore. And I mean, Steamer is incredible. I mean, Steamboat.
In-ring technician, second to none. His selling ability. You saw it with the DDT in the floor with J.T. Roberts.
Yep, fantastic.
The way he sold things, the way he sold his throat for the bell spot. You know what I'm saying? Like it's no one ever sold a stun gun like he did.
Nobody. Absolutely nobody sold like he did. He was definitely a different type of sell, and an incredible worker. I mean, he had unlimited gas. Like he could just go and go and go and go and go. And I mean, from a cardio standpoint, I mean, he was right up there with Flair.
That's what made us stand that trilogy. Excuse me.
The trilogy.
The trilogy methods. That trilogy methods. Oh, so good. Like anyone who is worth his soul, who's a worker in this business, needs to watch those and just pick those apart because they're fantastic.
I agree. Well, in my number 10 spot, this is also going to be a surprise to some people, but I have Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, I've met Bret Hitman Hart personally backstage at a show, and he couldn't have been more rude. But the fact of the matter is, as a worker, I mean, he was, he's definitely in the top 10 of probably almost everybody's list. Just in terms of working ability. I mean, he was stiff. He knew how to sell. He knew his craft. I just, there are a couple of things like his promo, very, very not good. It's just not good. Like
his promos didn't start getting better until like the shit with HBK voice.
Yeah, when he was able to shoot.
Exactly. We were starting talking about real life stuff. That is when his promos got great, and he saw that terrible promo he did in his first night in Nitro.
Oh God!
Oh, God!
Yeah, it's pretty awful. His promo skills never really got better at all.
Nope.
But yeah, Brett is in my number 10 spot. Who's in your number 9 spot?
Number 9. Let's keep it Canadian, shall we?
Oh, okay. I like it.
All right, I'm gonna go with Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit. Oof, that is gonna ruffle some feathers,
the worker,
boy.
not the person.
The worker, not the man. I like that. I didn't.
His in-ring style is unmatched. Like he's brought ferocity and believability to everything he did.
You know, man, Benoit was gonna get put on my list pretty high, and I decided, I just can't do it. And it's not because of his in-ring work. It's because of what he did, and his in-ring work impeccable. The guy was an absolute fucking savage, but he also was a savage, obviously, outside of the ring. That didn't, that didn't really sit well with anyone. I don't think anybody.
Nor should it.
No, should it. But yeah, I mean, what a fucking worker, man. I mean, his matches with Kurt Angle, incredible. Those are what really stand out to me. And I'm not even gonna, go in depth. But I mean, him as the Pegasus Kid in Japan in the 90, I believe it was the 94 Super J Cup against Black Tiger Eddie Guerrero. What fucking matches those guys had. And
flash forward that 30 years later, they had an amazing WrestleMania match. The first, say 10 minutes of that match was just them chain wrestling,
which is incredible to think about. that they could go out there.
The wrestling you see nowadays.
Yep, it's not like that.
No, you're not going to see them work out of a chin lock like that.
Nope, absolutely not. Well, in my number 9 spot, I have, again, this is going to be very controversial to some people because most people rate this guy really, really high on their list. It's Steve Austin.
Wow. Yep.
I love Steve. I think that Steve was a really good worker up until he hurt his neck. And then once he hurt his neck, it was no bueno after that. His in-ring work really was not the best. He stayed with a kick and punch type of method and relied more on the character and the promo work, which is fine. And I think he was great at doing that. But for me, I would get bored watching, certain Stone Cold matches against people because it was like the same thing. And it's the same way that I feel about Brett, to be quite honest with you. Like Brett had, a certain style that he worked, and he would work that style, and then that would be it. I mean, there was no variation from that, from the mechanics of the match, and most people are going to complain and say Flair did the same thing, but Flair would work an hour with a broomstick. That's the difference.
Exactly. I mean, look back on how it's matches with Yokozuna. They're copy-paste.
Imagine how difficult it must have been to work a guy that big, though. Like, how the fuck do you work a guy that big?
I wouldn't even begin to figure that one out.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. All right, who do you
go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
But again, you're talking about Carver and copy matches. Like Steve Austin, his impact in the business alone is why a lot of guys are still wrestling now.
Correct.
His impact on WWE alone sent the thing into the stratosphere, made millions of dollars.
Millions upon millions and the millions. All right. Who do you got in your number 8 spot?
Number 8 spot. All right, let's go. All right, number 8. I have got. Let me check my list here. I'm gonna go Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega. Oh, okay. A new guy. Welcome to the list, Kenny Omega. Wow. Okay, you rate Kenny Omega pretty high, man. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big thing, man.
Those matches with Okada.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, what more can be said that hasn't already been said about them?
Yeah.
Government drawers at Wrestle Kingdom, like, revolutionized the business.
Yeah. I mean, the cleaner Kenny Omega, too. Not the, you know, that was the beginning of that cleaner character, which was incredible.
Money.
What a, yeah.
Everything I mean, you talked about Flair working a broomstick for an hour. This guy worked a inflatable sex doll.
Yeah, a mannequin. It was essentially a mannequin.
Yeah.
and doing Canadian destroyer spots and stuff. Like, it's pretty outstanding.
Shit no one would think was reality.
I mean, you know, I can't take much away from Kenny Omega because I do really like Kenny Omega a lot. I think that Kenny Omega is, I mean, for this generation is like Flair. You know, yep. Like, I'm not saying the work is similar because it's not. It's a completely different style. But the style that everyone is working now is because of Kenny Omega.
the strong style, heavy striking spot? Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's literally a carbon. Everyone's trying to work that style and trying to figure it out still to this day. And
let me tell you what. I will vomit next time I see a pump knee.
Oh, God. I mean...
Pump me, duck line, pump me.
I mean, it's just... You know, it's one of those spots that nobody used to use it. Nobody. No. Like, it was not a thing back in the day. And then all of a sudden, it became in vogue. And I mean, I think that happens with all moves, though. I think that every single move kind of goes through a... not a renaissance, but like once you see somebody do it, then you see everyone and people pop for it. You see everyone start to do it for a little while, and then yep. But it's just like anything else in the wrestling business. It's ebb and flows. Like I saw people throwing stunners, you know, for like ever when Stone Cold was doing it. Like Mikey Whipwreck had the whippersnapper. Like there was all sorts of people throwing the stunner after Stone Cold was after he was doing it. But the fact of the matter is that nobody could do it like Stone Cold. Nobody throws a knee like Kenny Omega does. That knee is so incredible. And it's so devastating. And not only that, but the guy can actually work. Like, I would love to see him in WWE. That's a guy that I think is never going to go, and everyone's going to ask the question, what would he have been with good stories built around him?
Right. You know my feeling on AEW. If you don't, I'm not going to go on a side tangent now, because if you saw the text exchanges between Jimmy and myself, you'd understand. Oh,
God.
Again, like, it's a shame that, I mean, given his current condition right now, there's a possibility he never wrestle again.
Which we hope is not the case. I mean, I hope that's not the case.
It'd be a shame to see him go down when he went down the workhorse when he first came to AEW. Strapped up in belts, the belt collector gimmick. You know, it was just. He's revolutionized this business more times than a lot of people on this list may have.
I totally agree. Well, in my 8th spot, I have the Rowdy Piper. I mean, I had to put Piper on the list. I mean, just for the sheer fact that he want to talk about a guy who changed promos. I mean, that guy made everybody step up their game. His promo ability and his in-ring work, because he was so different from anybody else. Everyone else was a technical wrestler except for him. He wanted to get out there and brawl with you and punch you and kick you and bite you and pull your hair, and like, I really appreciate when guys stand out from the crowd. He didn't need to do that. He could have gone in there and amateur wrestled people right to the ground. But he decided that he was going to go in there and brawl with people. And I love the fact that a guy, especially as small as Piper was, he went out there and brawled with everybody. Andre, I mean, literally Flair, Greg Valentine. His dog collar match with Greg Valentine at 83 Starrcade is stuff of legend. I mean, they battered each other and bruised. Yeah, I mean, he lost like 70% of his hearing because of that one match. Like, that's wild to me. But, he also hung in there with some of the best guys in the world. Like, his matches against Flair and Mid-Atlantic were incredible. I mean, his match against Greg Valentine, like I said, at the 83 Starrcade when the dog collar was incredible. The whole lead-up to that was incredible. So, I mean, I had to put Piper on the list in that 8 spot. I definitely rate him higher than Austin and Brett because it was a little bit more unpredictable. He was
as much of a commercial success if it wasn't for Roddy Piper.
Correct. I mean, think about Hogan with no Piper.
Oh God!
Like, how could that have worked? It wouldn't have worked so well. Hulkamania would have never been a thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Hulkamania not being a thing is a weird thing to think about because we wouldn't have a wrestling business now, much less have a wrestling business all this time leading up to that. So
something tells me you probably his name on this list at some point.
Wow, he had to be. He had to be.
Right.
All right, who's number 7 for you, buddy?
Number 7. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, the list is tough, buddy. It's tough.
It's hard. I'm going to go a little bit more contemporary.
Oh.
I'm going to go with Roman Reigns.
Roman. Well, that, you're not going to get a lot of dispute from me when it comes to Roman. What stands out to you about Roman that puts him in that top 10 category for you?
Well, I go back to when he was first being forced down everyone's throat, right? Everyone was starting to spit that back at WWE, right?
Yep.
And I would say, people would ask me, and I would say to people, I'll go on record saying to people that the best worker right now is Roman Reigns in the business. Like, his in-ring work has never dropped. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say it's gotten redundant with the bloodline and the tribal chief gimmick. But, I mean, there's a reason why he's headlined the last, 5, 6, half dozen WrestleManias. Like, he's the guy. He's the cash cow. Mm-hmm. He's a guy. He's the straw that starts the drink. His legendary fucking run with the title. 3.5 years? Are you kidding me? In this
day and age, too. Like, that's very difficult.
In the world of bullshit streaks, like Goldberg's undefeated streak, that one you can't take away from him.
You cannot take that away from him. You can't take anything away from the guy, as far as I'm concerned. You can't take anything away from him.
To be honest with you, I could argue keeping the belt on him for another 3 more. But
ooh, I mean, that's interesting, huh? Oh,
I would have him right up against San Martino's record. That's what I would do.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't be upset about that. I mean, I think that we kind of feel the same way about that, though, where we would want, the world champion to be the world champion. The only thing about Roman that I wish is that he wrestled more. He didn't have such a part-time schedule. If he,
you could definitely see he toned it back, dialed it way down.
But I mean, when you had Brock doing the same thing, like, why wouldn't you do that if you're Roman? You can work less dates and make more money.
Brock literally wrote the book on it.
I mean, I'm surprised Brock hasn't made it on anybody's list yet. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Well, in my number 7 spot, I have none other than the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And I gotta say, Macho Man, without Macho Man and that Mega Powers thing, I don't know if Hogan would have lasted as long as he did. Because Macho, and I mean, let's face facts, Macho had great matches with almost everybody. I mean, his early work in WWF when they were doing, the mid-'80s, when he came in as a heel with Miss Elizabeth and it just didn't make sense, because Miss Elizabeth was such a face and he was such a heel. It was so intriguing, and still is to me to this day. I still watch some of that old stuff from, like, you know, the Boston Garden from, like, early 86.
Oh, God, yes.
And,
the golden days.
Yeah, like, you know, and, like, he'd come out, and it would be 10 minutes before they even locked up in the ring. Because he would be yelling at the crowd and shit. It was, like, unbelievable how he was able to separate himself from everybody else just in terms of walking to the ring and not having to lock up with anybody and letting the face chase him a little bit, and, like, just little intricacies that, you know, a lot of people don't think of anymore. Because
the eye pokes.
Yeah, like,
worked,
yes.
The way he would work the ropes and duck out.
I mean,
cower away. You know, just the
simple things. Simple. Basic.
And anyway, no one could get the crowd into a lather more than Randy Savage could.
Well, Randy was. Randy was incredible. I mean, I don't think there's any fan out there that can watch Randy stuff and be like, he's okay.
It was so ahead of is time.
He was ahead of his time with the robes and, like, all that shit.
Just the
like,
pageantry, the circumstance. I mean, it comes out the pop from the circumstance as his music.
Yeah, which is wild. It's wild to think of. It's a graduation song.
You can't even think of anyone else coming out to that music now aside from Jay Lethal.
Nope.
But like, it's just he's that important. He's that crucial.
He's really, really good. Really, really solid. Well, at the number 6 spot, I'm very curious because it's really the nitty gritty now. This is where I started to have, like, a lot of trouble. Is the 1 through 6 is really where I had to like question some things and, you know, really, like, put some real thought into it. Like 7, 8, 9, and 10 really didn't have to put that much thought into it.
So the Berserker didn't make your top 10 list?
What's that?
The Berserker didn't make your top 10 list?
Who didn't?
The Berserker?
No, he did not. No, John Nord did not make the top 10 list, I'm sorry to say.
Wow, this is a really elite list then.
Yeah, it is. It's totally lame. Totally lame. Well, my number 6 pick, I'll give mine first. We'll go in reverse order. HBK is in my number 6 spot.
Oh, boy.
I mean, the fact of the matter is the guy was a total pillhead and a shitbird for a long period of time, but you can't take away from the guy's in-ring talent. I mean, he was the best at what he did for a long period of time. You know, probably 94, 95 until... You know, I mean, even his second run was pretty incredible, coming back from that back injury after a long-ass layoff and doing a 3 stages of hell with Triple H. I mean, it's pretty fucking outstanding. Like, you can't... if you've never been in the ring, you'll never understand, like, how difficult that must have been for him and his body to be able to just, okay, well... I just need to go in there and do it. And it's like, what, dude? What are you talking about?
I just need to feel it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, feel it?
Crazy, bro. Crazy. But, I mean, HBK revolutionized it for a little while. I mean, his feud with Brett, like, the DX stuff. I mean, DX sold a lot of fucking merchandise. And not only that, but the guy was incredible in the ring. I mean, he worked with everybody. And he worked with everybody at a different level than anybody else did.
30-minute Broadway with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14, the Brooklyn back.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty outstanding. And, I mean, I get why he got pissed off about them laying the shirt on his face. But what are you going to do? I mean...
at that point, I don't care.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Say what you say about him as a person before his change.
Yep.
But his second run lasted longer than his first one did. Like, that's incredible. To come back from that type of injury, and your second run lasts longer than your first one did?
Pretty outstanding, man. It's pretty outstanding. You can't really beat that.
The stories he got to tell, I mean, WrestleMania 27 and him and Ric Flair.
Yep.
Are you serious? Like, there's not a dry in the house.
I'm sorry, I love you spot. It's
God. Good.
Yeah, it's so good.
I get chills thinking about it.
Yeah, it's too good. What about you for number 6?
Number 6, there's bound to be some duplication here. So I had Shawn Michaels number 6 too.
Oh, okay. Wow. See that? Wow. Our first match. We've matched up. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Impact the business. As high, I mean, as long as he was on top, like he was always top of the card guy, no matter what, what condition he was in.
Yep.
And just say what you want about his personal character. Again, I've already separated the man from his in-ring work.
Yep.
And just the fact that he was one of the last ones to go of my childhood. It was amazing to watch him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, in my number 5 spot, I have
top 5, baby, top 5.
Top 5. We're into the top 5 now. In my fifth spot, I have none other than the Harley Race.
King Harley.
Harley Race. And the reason why Harley Race goes in that 5th spot and not any higher is for the sheer fact that it was very difficult for me to put anybody else. I couldn't put anybody else that I have in the top 4 lower than where I had them. So Harley has to go at 5. And a lot of people are going to say, Harley Race? I'm going to go, yeah, Harley Race. Are you kidding me? The guy beat polio. Like, he pinned polio. How the fuck do you do that? Like, this guy had been in multiple car accidents that could have ended his life, and he still went out there and worked, smoking butts. Like, he was like, that is a man's man. He was what a professional wrestler, like a prototypical professional wrestler, that's who I think of, is Harley Race. Just a tough ass dude who smokes butts and like goes out there and wrestles his ass off and knows exactly what he needs to do, knows his occupation that well, and can be a world champion. You could put Harley Race in today and he would still be a world champion. Even with this, even with the style being different, Harley Race would still be a world champion today. No doubt about it.
Without question. And the fact that he's made some of the best wrestlers.
Oh, today. My God. I mean, no Ric Flair without Harley Race, buddy.
Like, he had to pass the torch to him.
Had to do it.
His career, literally, you could write 85 books on and not tell every story.
Oh, my God. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Who do you got in the 5? Who do you got in the 5?
In the single spot, I had Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, the King! Well, want to talk about impact on the business? I mean, he broke into the mainstream. I mean, he was a mainstream guy. Yeah.
His stuff with Andy Kaufman, just the slap her around the world on the Tonight Show.
Oh, yep. When he was in the net, when Andy was in the neck brace.
Just that whole angle was perfect, right? Classic. You couldn't write any better than that.
Oh my God! And I'll tell you what, had the pile driver, man. The pile driver was like...
Pile driver is close to my heart as one of my favorite moves.
I love the pile driver, and nobody does pile drivers anymore, but I do except for Toni Storm. I like Toni Storm's pile driver a lot because it's short, and she absolutely hits it at 100 miles an hour. But we'll talk about
a little snap to that.
Yeah, we'll talk about the women at another time. But Jerry the King, man, with that stalling pile driver... incredible, dude. You can't beat it. And the guy broke into the mainstream. No one had broken into the mainstream in the mid-70s like he did.
No. He had the permission to print money from Memphis Wrestling.
Which is crazy to think because, Hogan, obviously the biggest draw in the business. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Like, he was... Without Hogan, there was no professional wrestling. But, I mean, Jerry the King... Man, what a guy to break into the business, like break into the mainstream, like totally crazy, totally wrestling obsessed, and never left the business really. Like he was always involved
after wrestling a match.
Yeah,
on camera. Like
crazy, bro, crazy.
Here, insane.
Crazy. I mean, just the angle with Kaufman alone, guarantees that he was serious business. Absolutely serious. Well, who do you have in the number 4 spot, buddy?
Number 4 was more people, right?
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have a duplicate here.
Oh,
it's gonna be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, okay. I knew Austin was going to show up on your list at some point.
He has to. He has to. I mean, I look like him, so I might as well.
Yeah, you do kind of look like him a little bit, dude. It's actually fucking mad funny. I didn't even think about that. You do kind of look like the guy.
I had black trunks, black knee pads.
Oh my
until now.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, I didn't even think about that. It's brilliant.
But Stone Cold Steve Austin, the impact of the business, we talked about it already. We don't have to go into it in depth. But I mean, even his lasting impact outside of the business, coming back to WrestleMania, and WrestleMania match with Kevin Owens, and then that match, the type of match he had.
Yeah, he didn't need to do that.
Bumping on the floor? I wouldn't.
You gotta
he was doing it at age like 48.
What are you talking about? You gotta give the guy credit, man. You gotta give him credit for going out there and taking a bump for KO on the floor. It's brilliant shit, dude. I love it.
He's my solid number 4. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? Number 4.
Dusty. Dusty is in my number 4 spot. I had to put Dusty on the list for the sheer fact that, I mean, what a tremendous performer. You want to talk about a guy who could talk people into the fucking building? It's Dusty Rhodes. That guy knew how to talk. He could get it done in the ring. And the thing that always surprised me about Dusty is that he looked like a bag of shit. He literally looked like a trash bag, a human form of a trash bag. And he would go out there and wrestle for a fucking hour like no problem. And that always fucking impressed me because he didn't look like a superstar. There is nothing about Dusty that you would think this guy is going to be a tremendous athlete. And not only was he a tremendous athlete, but he was a tremendous talker. And his selling ability was incredible. There are very few guys ever in the wrestling business that made me feel the way that Dusty did when he would sell. When he would reach out to the crowd and he would sell up. Instead of selling down to the mat, he would sell up. And he would roll on his side to show his face to the crowd and ask them to, he'd put his hand out like he was reaching for the crowd. And it's like, oh my God, man. It's so good. And it's such a simple thing that people do not do anymore. They do not know how to sell up for some reason. I just don't understand it. Why sell down when you can sell up to the crowd? Because that's who you're supposed to be selling to. Fuck everything else. You're supposed to sell to the crowd and to the hard cam. Those are the two places where you sell. I don't understand how difficult it is to realize this. This is not rocket science here. The wrestling business does not change. The moves might change.
Once you get the selling down,
right?
Once you understand what selling is all about and the psychology behind it, I mean, I feel like selling up is relatively easy. It's easier than selling down than being a piece of shit in the mat.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. It just never made any sense.
It's easy to get more heat and more juice fucking from the crowd, working the crowd, trying to get them up to you.
100%. And I mean, Dusty being on the Mount Rushmore for me is merely for those facts right there. I mean, how can you take away from fucking Dusty? You can't take anything away from Dusty Rhodes. As much as people want to, he never looked like a superstar. There is nothing about him that screams superstar. It's a big, huge human with a lisp.
Personality was twice the size.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
There's a reason why. I'll give you a little bit behind the grapples. When I was training with you, there's one match you showed me of him to watch. I think it was him and Billy Graham.
Oh, yep, from Madison Square, yep.
Well, they worked a side headlock spot the entire match.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this guy. I never looked particularly great myself either. So to see that, it's kind of like a motivation for me. He can do it, I can do it too.
It's one of those things where, you want to I always liked the common man look because you're gonna connect with the crowd better if you have a common man look. If you are, listen, there's nothing wrong with a big jacked up physique. I have no issue with that. But the common man is gonna sell more tickets than the guy with the jacked up physique, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. Like, listen, I don't really dig big muscular guys because I don't think that they're relying more on their body than they are on their skill. And it's tough to draw people in when you are looking at a guy who you could never be.
Yes. Dusty Rhodes is a quintessential everyman.
He is the everyman.
He's blue collar USA.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. Well, I'll go first at the number 3 spot since you went first at 4.
Yes, please go. Go ahead.
But in my number 3 spot, I'm putting Bruiser Brody.
I knew he was going to show up on this list for you. I know he was.
Has to.
Yep.
How could I not? I mean, Bruiser Brody is my guy. Like, if there was ever a guy who I could relate to, it's that guy right there. I absolutely love Bruiser Brody. There is nothing that anybody can tell me about Bruiser Brody that I wouldn't love. That's the thing. The guy was an absolute freak. He was a freak, and he revolutionized how people looked at the gaijins in Japan. American guys really weren't looked at very highly in Japan up until it was Bruiser, Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, and the Funks. Like, those were the guys who could go over to Japan at any time and get a huge pop. And when you're in that type of company, it's really difficult for me to say, oh yeah, like, that guy's a shit worker. No, that guy was fucking incredible. And he made fans legitimately run away from him. It's the first time I had ever seen fans run away from a wrestler. And, I should say, when I saw Bruiser Brody for the first time. I shouldn't say now because I've seen many fans run from wrestlers now. But I've also gone back and watched everything, from the 50s on. So, the original Sheik used to make fucking fans run away from him constantly. But Bruiser Brody was out there swinging a fucking logger's chain around his fucking head like a helicopter, and fans were scattering. Like, it was incredible to me. And plus, the guy could get it done in the ring. Like, he knew how to sell. He knew when to sell. He knew when to sell down for people, when to sell up for people. He would bleed. He would do the whole goddamn thing, man. It was like... And it's... for me personally, that's what really stood out to me, was his ability to be able to make people feel, even though he was wrestling a very heel style. He was kicking people in the face, like, he was biting people, and getting cheered. And getting cheered in the 70s and 80s, getting cheered while he was doing that type of shit. Like, I can't say enough good things about somebody who has the ability to do that.
Right. I completely agree with you.
Well, who's in your number 3 spot, buddy? Who's the number 3 for you?
I would be remiss if I didn't have this person. He's already been on your list. But one Richard Flair.
Oh, yeah. Rick. Yeah. Big Rick.
Big Rick. Slick Rick. Again, Impact's Mount Rushmore. Wrestling wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. He made it to the territories what they were.
I can dig it, man. I can dig it. Flair.
And it's a shame. I was growing up as a kid, right? And I didn't really see much of Ric Flair until late 90s.
Oh.
No, early 90s. Excuse me. Late 80s. Early 90s is when I first started.
Yep.
Ric Flair pop up on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never really watched NWA. Never really had a need to. I never really had a desire to. Always Saturday WWF Wrestling Classic.
Yeah. That was the thing on Saturday mornings, was WWF. I think Oh, no, we didn't lose you. Oh, I thought that we lost you for a second there.
Clear.
I thought that we lost the signal for a second there, but we didn't. There you are. I hear you now.
Reconnected. Anyways, but I didn't see much of him until he started poking in WWF. And they won the Rumble from the number 3 spot.
Mm-hmm.
To win the title. And then I saw him disappear and go with WCW when they started up. So it was just. Then I started seeing more and more of him on a regular basis. Now I had a reason to go watch the other channel. Go see where it was.
I mean,
and then just seeing them, seeing his promo work behind the podium in NWA. Just literally, he walks out and instantly he's living the gimmick.
Living the gimmick. He is definitely living the gimmick. There is no doubt. I think he's still living the gimmick.
I mean, the motherfucker's died at least 7 times I know of.
Oh my god!
Did a lot longer than that, but
so crazy.
He's still kicking out.
Still kicking out. You're exactly right. Well, I can't say enough good things about Ric Flair, and to be quite honest with you, he's definitely making my list. I'm not going to say where he's making my list, but he's definitely in this list somewhere for me. And there's only two. Then there's only 2 left. So
I have a good feeling I know where.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's ever come in contact with me knows where Ric Flair ranks for me on the best wrestlers of all time.
I mean, that answer should go be universally for everyone. It should be in everyone's Mount Rushmore. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
you can be a snob of the old stuff and white new stuff. His stuff still stands.
Yeah, I mean all of his stuff still passes the sniff check at this point, you can still watch him and Steamboat, you can still watch him and Terry Funk, and and it still holds up. There's not too many wrestlers from back then that would still hold up to this day. And
you can see how he changes his style from area to area.
Yeah, exactly right.
His style.
Yep, exactly right. Well, in my number 2 spot. Now we're getting down to the real nitty-gritty. The number 2 spot is the Dynamite Kid. And a lot of people are going to have some issue with that, and they're going to say, where's Hogan? And I'm going to say, well, for me, as a kid, I fucking hated Hulk Hogan. I couldn't have been less of a fucking fan of Hulk Hogan. And the fact of the matter is, Hulk Hogan is if you think of professional wrestling, that's the first name that comes up, is Hulk Hogan. Yep. For pretty much everybody. I mean, that's pretty much universal. And I'm not trying to be different. I just don't like Hogan's style. His style didn't sit with me the same as it did with other people.
I ask anyone, did you like the John Cena 5 Moves of Doom?
Well, it was 3.
Motherfucker had 3.
It was 3.
Had 3.
Exactly right. It was the big boot, the body slam, and the leg drop, man. That's it.
In that order, that's it.
I mean, incredible selling, though. I mean, the guy could fucking sell his ass off, and he could talk people into the fucking building. I mean, he's what wrestling was made of, but the fact of the matter is that for me, it just did not do it for me. I couldn't put him on the list. Dynamite Kid, on the other hand, that was the first guy that I saw that was small, really small. And I understand that he was, probably 5'8" and 225 pounds, but when you go back and watch his early stuff from Stampede, he was maybe 175 pounds.
Yeah, he's soaking wet.
Yeah, and he was fucking incredible. I mean, his ability to be able to wrestle is unmatched, and he was small and violent, and everything that he did had a reason. He didn't just do something for the sake of doing it. And, I took a lot from Dynamite in my own time during wrestling. I took a lot of stuff from Dynamite because I get it. I understood it. I'm not a big guy. I'm, maybe 5'8", 5'9", 185 pounds at maybe a little bit heavier than that at times, but, rolling around that 185 spot.
I'd never say that to you.
But, you know, I mean, I took a lot from Dynamite. I mean, I took a lot from a lot of guys, but Dynamite is the one that, like, I was like, oh man, like, he's being violent with people. Like, why couldn't I be violent with people? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but, like, let's put it all out there and take bumps and do shit that nobody else will do. And that's how I tried to, conduct myself wrestling was, let's try to do stuff that other people are not doing, and let's try to take the bumps and do things a little bit different to separate yourself from these other guys. And for me, Dynamite separated from everybody. Like, there is not a guy that I can think of that could keep pace with the pace that Dynamite used to cut in the ring. It was
not any could do it today. This juncture either.
No, I mean, especially not today. I mean, guys are getting blown up just running an international spot nowadays. Like,
it's sad. It's sad.
And the thing is like when I was wrestling, I used to smoke cigarettes. Like, there is no, there is no, and I just don't understand. Like,
I never got blown up in a match. Ever.
I very rarely, I can count them on one hand how many times I've been blown up during a match. And, it just...
I've been fucked up a lot, but...
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I've definitely been fucked up a lot. There is absolutely zero doubt about that. But, par for the course. But yeah, I mean, Dynamite for me was just, he was always the guy that really stood out to me. He was smaller, and it's the same way that I feel about Benoit. If Benoit would definitely be on this list if I could get over the fact that he ruined wrestling for a lot of people.
He did. He made wrestling a bad word.
Yeah, and it was like a dirty word, and people didn't want to be involved with wrestling because of what happened with Benoit. And it's like, well,
I argue the stigma from him is still there.
Oh, 100%.
It's still there. It's still as potent as it was the day it happened.
100%. And the fact is the guy was he was nutty. Like, he was just a fucking nutty dude, and you don't know what to do with fucking nutty people. Like, I mean, I'm a nutty dude, but, like, not in that way. Like, no fucking way, dude. That's just, like, not my jam. Like, I've never put my hands on a woman in anger, like, nothing like that. That has never even fucking crossed my mind. And, it's a different kind of nutty. That's a different kind of nutty.
That's an accurate way of putting it.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
And I certainly think that his steroid use had something to do with it, and probably a bit of some alcohol had something to do with it, and probably some pills and
the life of wrestlers.
Yeah,
getting built up. I've been there. I've done it. I'm not proud to say I did it, but I did it.
Yeah, drinking was my vice. That was my.
It was all of our go-tos too. Yeah. I got into the pills later on, but it was just. Man. A couple of shots of Jack and some somas to go to sleep at night.
Well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, who's your number two, buddy? Who's the number two?
Number two. I mean, for this guy meant to me, Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, Eddie. Big Eddie at number two. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense. Eddie Guerrero, man. Goddamn, what a fucking talent. What
he's mentioned this list numerous times with people he's worked with and against. The fact that he overcame what he came and came back to the top. I mean, had a really underrated run with the WWE title.
Really impressive. Really impressive. His match with JBL always stands out to me.
I mean, he's one guy that could get me to pop for JBL.
The JBL match and the Kurt Angle match when he took the boot off of his foot, that was fucking so incredible, and I was like, what a way to do that. Like, he really showed me what he was able to do. And I mean, all of his matches, I mean, he wrestled some fucking incredible matches against people, but his feud with Kurt Angle, his feud with JBL was incredible. Plus, he was Black Tiger. Like, what are we talking about, man? Like,
just how my mom WCW in the cruiserweights, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, he was the cruiserweight. I mean, him and Ray.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, him, Ray, Hoovy, and Psychosis. That was it, man. They were the cruiserweight division. I mean, really, I mean, Eddie Guerrero, pretty fucking incredible. I mean, there is not too much I can say about Eddie Guerrero being in your number 2 spot at all. I mean, he absolutely deserves wherever people put him. He absolutely deserves to be. He meant more to some people than he did to others. That's probably the last time that I was upset about a wrestling death. Until Bray Wyatt
genuinely broke my heart.
Yeah,
genuinely fucking broke my heart.
Until Bray Wyatt, that was like the only time like a wrestling death like really affected me was Eddie and then Bray. Those were the only two that really affected me.
Bray fucked me up too, and didn't have some feelings about that.
Yeah, it's very odd, very, very odd. But goddamn, man, fucking Eddie Guerrero in the number 2 spot. I'm not upset about that. I'm not upset about it at all. And then the number 1, buddy. Numero uno. We're on number 1. What do you think, pal? Oh, did we lose you again? Nope.
No, I'm here.
You're there.
So my number 1 is going to be Undertaker.
Again, I can't be upset with Taker being in your number 1 spot. I can't be upset about it. I mean, Taker.
He's genuinely the last guy from my childhood that was wrestling has left. You know what I'm saying? He's the last of the guard, the old guard.
And I mean, talk about big matches. I mean, he's wrestled fucking everybody, literally everybody, and has been incredible.
Anybody who's anybody.
Yeah. And absolutely incredible. He's really fucking good. I mean, really good. And
some of the matches he had with those guys too is fucking fantastic. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
at his age.
I mean, think about
CM Punk.
Yeah. Everybody, Kane, CM Punk, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, like Hogan. I mean, he's literally wrestled every fucking Ric Flair. He's wrestled every fucking buddy in the business who's worth any salt whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And he's still to this day, man, people ask me, oh, what, you like The Undertaker? I'm like, yeah, dude, The Undertaker has done so much for the business. And they're like, what do you mean he's done so much for the business? I said, he let a fucking guy who just won Tough Enough named Maven drop kick him over the top rope in a fucking Royal Rumble. I said, are you fucking insane? What has he done for the business? He did not need to do that for Maven. Let's just be real. He could have gone out there and choke slammed Maven from the ring to the floor, and nobody would have been surprised. But what did he do? He put him over.
Several times.
He made him look like a stud. Well, I can't disagree with your number 1. Obviously, my number 1, everyone is gonna know it's Ric Flair. I mean, this is not like a huge. Yeah. This is not gonna be a huge surprise to anybody. I mean, Ric Flair. We've already talked about him. Incredible. I mean, let's just face facts. And I mean, I appreciate Flair so much for what he did for the business, for his style, for like the whole thing. Just it all made sense to me. But, you know, goddamn, what a fucking top 10 list. And what a first episode we've had. Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph.
It's going to be hard to follow up with that one.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Well, make sure that you guys tune in next week to Wrestling Mondays with myself, Tatum, and Chris Dozer. Until then, we will talk to you soon. Ta-ta for now. Peace.